Welcome to Newslaundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. Newslaundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
Hello and welcome to NL Hafta. This is the 4th of March and we're recording this podcast at 11 a.m. on a Friday. I am your host. I'm back from UP. I'm in Delhi now. Abhinandan is on a little break, so you'll have to bear with me this week. But we have some very interesting guests and some very interesting conversations to do with you. I'm going to first just welcome our in-house team of Raman, Kirpal. Hello, Raman sir. How are you?
Hi.
And hi, Anand. How are you? You're joining us from Bangalore, right?
Yes.
Great to have you guys. And we also have two very special guests who are going to be joining us. Happymon Jacob. Happymon is a New Delhi-based academic columnist and commentator. He's an associate professor of diplomacy and disarmament at the School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, host of National Security Conversations for the While. Happymon is here with us for the beginning 45 minutes. And then somewhere after that, Rahul is going to join us. Rahul Verma, who's a fellow at the Center for Policy Research. He's visiting assistant professor in the Department of Political Science, Ashoka University. His research interests include voting behavior, party politics, political violence, and media. And he's a regular columnist for various news platforms. He's published papers in Asian Survey, Economic Political Weekly, and Scroll. So we're going to do some really fun election charcha with him. Before we get into all the exciting conversations, I have a couple of announcements to make. We have a new page for subscribers, so send your letters there. We also have a new email for podcast letters, so you can write to us at podcast@newslaundry.com. NL Sena's goal is almost close to our final goal. We've got like about 22 lakh in, and our goal is 25. So just top up if you can, because we're just now 1 week left to the elections finishing. Atul and Meghnad are still in Varanasi. They have a couple of things to finish. Shivangi and Akanksha are also in Banaras. They're going to, wrap up by the 7th. It's going to be really action-packed for them this week because now is the last leg. You'll have the Prime Minister coming in and a lot of color around Varanasi. But we're going to wrap up our election coverage by 7th of March. So please try and top up NL Sena. I hope you like what we've done. I hope you watched or at least caught up with some of the shows that we did, some of the ground reports that we did, and do send us feedback on it. It's very important for us to learn on what we did well and what we did badly, where we succeeded, where we failed. So please send us feedback on that. Of course, we have a conversation also coming up this Saturday, so you can join us. Atul, me, Meghnad, Lipi and Parikshit. The another election show team is going to be in conversation Saturday night. This is only for subscribers and the details are on the website and details are also on social media. We'll also leave the details in the description under this podcast, so you can check that out and join us. We have NL merch, Newslaundry hoodies on the website, so you can buy that too if you want. I'll quickly get into the headlines and then we get into the conversation. Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi had claimed on Monday that 90% of Indians who study medicine abroad failed to clear qualifying exam in India. Congress spokesperson Randeep Singh Surjewala accused Joshi of insulting Indian students. The crisis with Indian students abroad stuck in this mess, in this war, is still ongoing. We had a young student who died, who was killed, in fact. So very tragic news coming in from there. And you still have a lot of students complaining, students in a state of panic. And meanwhile, you still have a lot of netas, governing party trying to milk this as much as possible, make a PR opportunity out of it or make a photo op out of it. So that is the defining story of the week. All Indians have left Ukraine's capital. That's the foreign secretary. Meanwhile, a government advisory for Indians in Ukraine says stay in the bunker, use WhatsApp to coordinate, learn sentences in Russian. That's a tall order given the crisis that students are in. But anyway, Scindia, meanwhile, left for Bucharest to facilitate evacuation of stranded Indians. And there are really funny videos doing the rounds of him being rebuked by the mayor there, saying that, bhai, pura shelter to hum nahi kara, aap yahan aake sara credit lene ki koshish kar rahe ho. Yashwant Sinha has advised Modi to step in as a mediator in Russia-Ukraine conflict. At the Quad Summit, Modi called for dialogue and diplomacy, so we are treading that careful line on this. The Indian student who was killed in clashes between Russia and Ukraine in the city of Kharkiv on Tuesday has been identified as Naveen Gyangodar Shekharappa. after Naveen, a 22-year-old student from Punjab's Barnala district, who had suffered a stroke and was undergoing treatment for about a month, died. This is, of course, a war-hit country, so everything's hit: medical services, education, everything. Russian-led ISSF bans shooters from Russia, Belarus over Ukraine invasion. Nations agree to release 60 million barrels of oil amid Russian war. Meanwhile, Apple has stopped product sales in Russia amidst Ukraine invasion. Russian radio station was taken off air over Ukraine coverage. Facebook will also restrict RT and Sputnik in Europe to label content for them. These are propaganda arms of Russia. I mean, as propaganda as a lot of what you find here. Auto and truck makers suspend businesses in Russia following invasion. This is including Sweden's Volvo Cars and Germany's Daimler Truck. PM Modi has blamed previous governments for Indian students going abroad for medical education. Completely useless statement, in my opinion. Congress MPs, including former party president Rahul Gandhi, at a meeting convened today by Ministry of External Affairs on the Ukraine crisis, agreed with the government's impartial stance on Russian invasion. I don't think anyone can have disagreements on that. Also, it's Nehru's legacy. So Rahul Gandhi should be moderately okay with it. Voting for the sixth phase of Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls held on Thursday morning. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and several prominent faces among 676 candidates were contesting. It's time to send Yogi back to his mutt. That's what Mayawati has said in an attack on BJP. BJP's defeat in UP is imminent. That is what Mamta said. She had been campaigning for SP in Varanasi. She was there yesterday, in fact, throwing football at the crowd and saying BJP ko bahar nikalo, and also saying khela hoge. Bharat Pay removes co-founder and MD Ashfi Grover from his positions in the company. Kerala High Court dismisses plea by Media One against order upholding ban. 28-year-old R. Priya of the DMK will be the first woman Dalit mayor of Chennai. That's great, amazing news. And let's get in right with Ukraine-Russia mess.
And Manisha, you spoke about the pro-BJP media who have taken a certain line, which sounds like pro-Russia. So I think Modi and the leaders like Modi and Putin, I think they're made of the same clay. So maybe this is also, amplifying through these channels. Maybe, send some kind of message to Russia that India is with them. So that's how I take it.
Now, as a country, India is probably the only country that can, at this point of time, talk to Putin, to Zelensky, and Biden, and the other NATO members at the same time, which means it's in the good books of all the three parties involved in it: Russia, Ukraine, and the West. And yet, our focus has only been, be it at the United Nations Security Council, at the General Assembly, in our public sort of utterances, it's always been about getting our people back home, which I understand is the most important part, which is 20,000 of our citizens are there. But I think as a country, we need to think big. If somebody is asking you to meet, should we do that, Manisha? As a country, we should think bigger than this.
Sending ministers may have different aspects to it. It is useful when ministers have administrative capabilities to channelize resources. So it can work that way also, that they can channelize resources administratively, harness it in a way that things are done in a better way. But of course, there is a downside to it also, that they may divert attention, and if they lack administrative acumen, it can have adverse effects. So that downside is also there.
Basically, I think elections are won and lost on accumulated sentiments. And those accumulated sentiments are made up of 5 things. There could be other things, but I'm basically thinking of these 5 things. One is ideological platform and campaign narrative. 2 is popularity of the leadership. 3rd one is the social arithmetic on the ground. The 4th one is performance of the government and performance of the opposition and welfare promises you made and welfare delivery you were able to do. And the 5th is organizational resources on the ground, right? So among these things, if you look at, I think if you look at state level leadership, Yogi and Akhilesh are sort of equally poised. BJP has a much clearer ideological platform and narrative, but SP, on the other hand, has managed to convince, as you said, that Akhilesh, like younger generation of voters think that Akhilesh may be better able to deliver them on, say, unemployment or being able to offer them on pension scheme.
I think I will give BJP an edge merely because of their organization and discipline. I think they just outweigh their opposition parties. So I think in this regard, because there is no wave, okay. So in absence of waves, this is what matters. So so even if I stand stupid 7 days later, but I give BJP an edge.
All of you listening in, the Chhota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to Newslaundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoro. Not to brag or anything, but Newslaundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All Newslaundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.